Welcome back to the 8th installment of the 48 Laws of Power discussion series, the book by Robert Greene that we have come here to discuss law by law, try to make them make sense, and try to apply them to our way of understanding the world. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and, as is customary, let chat find its way in here. Good evening, Bijou. Good to see you. Tonight, we will be discussing Law 8, which is make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. It's good. It's good. Back's feeling, well, it's not abject agony, so that's good. Oh, hello, Miss Div. Good to see ya. Thank you for coming. Doing a banner. Doing a banner. Anywho, I forgot to even. I ain't got it together, apparently. Share my screen. I don't even have the chapter shared up yet. So how's everybody else doing? Anything interesting going on in anyone else's world? I was just waiting for the show to start today. Speaking of shows starting, speaking of Divinity 143, Divinity has a show coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, and she's going to have a special guest. She's going to have Mr. Hideous on her channel, and we're going to talk about the ways the state can kill you. Should be a lot of fun over on Rumble, so if you're not subscribed to Divinity on Rumble and you're interested in these kind of topics, you should probably go check her out. She's the best streamer on Rumble, allegedly. That's my opinion, but yeah, that should be fun. I think I'm gonna have a great time. Kind of a light crowd tonight, huh? Must be something going on somewhere. People didn't get the notification just yet. Only the people who got their alarm clock set for 8 o'clock make it here on time. But we'll give it a couple more minutes and then I'm gonna leave without them. I can discuss all these laws with Bijou and Div. Oh, look at Bijou dropping the link. Yeah, go follow Miss Divinity. We're gonna be doing a show over there tomorrow night. And I got some tricks up my sleeve. I mean, this one right here, the Law 8, definitely not as excited about this one as I was for the last one, and I am for a couple of the ones coming up very soon. There are definitely more applicable laws, but this one it's got its merits. I mean, I'm I'm very much excited to read this one. I mean, that might be. I didn't put it in the. I put it in the description, but I didn't put it in the stream title, so it could be the thing keeping people away. Maybe I didn't use enough bait. That's probably what. Like, I didn't even make the thumbnail till this morning, so I didn't even do the stream announcement till like 4 o'clock. Maybe they like last week. I put it up the day before. Maybe they didn't see it and they're like, "Oh, Darth's not doing his stream." But I'm gonna do these at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays from now on. That way, know when I'm going to be showing up here to do it. Unless, of course, something happens that I'm unavailable to do. So in which case I will either do it before that or I will make it up afterwards in case of emergency. But anyway, I suppose we can't just wait around for people forever, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get started with the judgment. At least we can do that one. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Judgment. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the cards. Does that mean anything to any? I mean, this seems a lot like something I would probably hear Sun Tzu say. Oh yeah, dinner time things might be a thing. But yeah, this is a Sun Tzu like should I be taking? I mean, that depends. Have you tried the approach? Have you tried the opposite approach? Like, I tend to hear from a lot of people that you always find what you're looking for when you're not looking, but I mean, seduction is essentially using bait to make other people come to you. So, if you're going to practice the art of seduction, which is another book written by my man Robert Greene that we might have to do some talking about. That might even be more poignant than the 48 Laws, to be honest. I mean, if you can get your opposition, your opponent, whatever it be, to do what you want them to do, that means they are also not only doing what you want them to do, they're not doing what they were planning to do. So it is definitely a double fold law, which makes it extra powerful, I guess. There's a there's going to be a fun observance of the law here. Observance of the law. At the Congress of Vienna in 1814, the major powers of Europe gathered to carve up the remains of Napoleon's fallen empire. The city was full of gay, and the balls were the most splendid in memory. Hovering over the proceedings, however, was the shadow of Napoleon himself. Instead of being executed or exiled far away, he had been sent to the island of Elba, not far from the coast of Italy. Okay, Napoleon, the emperor. The emperor. The guy who should have been put to death after he lost his empire. Oh, hello, Charlemagne. They made a mistake, though. They did not put this man to death. They did not even exile him to somewhere like India. No, they was like, you can stay here on this island where we can watch you, really nearby all your allies and stuff. That couldn't possibly be a conflict of interest, could it? I couldn't see how that'd be a problem. Even imprisoned on an island, a man as bold and creative as Napoleon Bonaparte made everyone nervous. The Austrians plotted to kill him on Elba, but decided it was too risky. Alexander I, Russia's temperamental czar, heightened the anxiety by throwing a fit during the Congress when a part of Poland was denied him. Beware! I shall loose the monster, he threatened. Everyone knew he meant Napoleon. Of all the statesmen gathered in Vienna, only Talleyrand, Napoleon's former foreign minister, seemed calm and unconcerned. It was as if he knew something the others did not. Meanwhile, on the island of Elba, Napoleon's life was a mockery of his previous glory. As Elba's king, in air quotes, he had been allowed to form a court. There was a cook, a wardrobe mistress, an official pianist, and a handful of courtiers. All this was designed to humiliate Napoleon, and it seemed to work. Well, I mean, they're mocking him because he used to be a big shot, and now he a little shot because he had failed. Hello, Val. I don't know why you would do this and provoke this man. Like he was like at the time the most dangerous war general on earth. I don't know why you would provoke that man. But apparently, I guess they thought that was a good plan. Let's see how this goes. That winter, however, there occurred a series of events so strange and dramatic they might have been scripted in a play. Elba was surrounded by British ships, their cannons covering all possible exit points. Yet somehow, in broad daylight on February 26, 1815, a ship with 900 men on board picked up Napoleon and put to sea. The English gave chase, but the ship got away. This almost impossible escape astonished the public throughout Europe and terrified the statesmen at the Congress of Vienna. Oh, guys, Napoleon, he's out now. He done escaped. How do you think that's going to go? All these people was afraid that he might get out, but they didn't take better precautions, and then he got out. Oh, hello, squabbles. Yes, you are correct. I'm not trying to say that my angels is better than the ones that expert got, but they is. I'll take a Div, a Juju, and a Charlemagne for 100, please. Hmm. Yeah. For anyone who thinks I wrote this book, I did not. I'm just reading it and talking about it. But Robert Greene do got a YouTube channel, and he does do a lot. Like he does his own explanations on the laws. We're gonna talk about that too later on. We gotta finish the laws first. But we're gonna do a deep dive into this. I mean, anywho, where were we? Although it would have been safer to leave Europe, Napoleon not only chose to return to France, he raised the stakes by marching on Paris with a tiny army in hopes of recapturing the throne. His strategy worked. People of all classes threw themselves at his feet. An army under Marshal Ney sped from Paris to arrest him, but when the soldiers saw their beloved former leader, they changed sides. Napoleon was declared emperor again. Volunteers swelled the ranks of his new army. Delirium swept the country. In Paris, crowds went wild. The king who had replaced Napoleon fled the country. Of course he did. You ain't the king no more. You the emperor back. For the next 100 days, Napoleon ruled France. Soon, however, the giddiness subsided. France was bankrupt, its resources nearly exhausted, and there was little Napoleon could do about this. At the Battle of Waterloo, in June of that year, he was finally defeated for good. This time his enemies had learned their lesson. They exiled him to the barren island of St. Helena off the west coast of Africa. There he had no more hope of escape. They fucked up. That's not a law of power, that's a law of weakness. Yes, simp. He stopped at 48 because that's all there is. That's 48. That law of weakness that Squab just made up, that ain't a law of power. We're not gonna pretend that women are God's gift to men. Do you not know the story of the Garden of Eden, Squab? Do you not know how that went down? Eve not your friend. Eve your enemy. Eve set you up. Just for the record. Napoleon, Napoleon, Napoleon. Okay, what can we learn here? Napoleon's enemies, they did not send him far enough away. So when he escaped, he drew all the people to him. Like all the people. Because he had that type of charisma and power. But how did he pull this off? How did he escape? Because they're going to tell you. They going to tell you. In the interpretation, only years later did the facts of Napoleon's dramatic escape from Elba come to light. Before he decided to attempt this bold move, visitors to his court had told him that he was more popular in France than ever, and that the country would embrace him again. One of these visitors was Austria's General Holler, who convinced Napoleon that if he escaped, the European powers, England included, would welcome him back into power. Napoleon was tipped off that the English would let him go, and indeed his escape occurred in the middle of the afternoon in full view of English spyglasses. What Napoleon did not know was that there was a man behind it all, pulling the strings, and that this man was his former minister Talleyrand. And Talleyrand was doing all this not to bring back the glory days, but to crush Napoleon once and for all. Considering the emperor's ambition unsettling to Europe's stability, he had turned against him long ago. When Napoleon was exiled to Elba, Talleyrand had protested. Napoleon should be sent further away, he argued, or Europe would never have peace. But no one listened. Instead of pushing his opinion, Talleyrand bided his time. Working quietly, he eventually won over Castlereagh and Metternich, the foreign ministers of England and Austria. So he drew people to his cause. Together, these men baited Napoleon into escaping. Even Kohler's visit to whisper the promise of glory in the exile's ear was part of the plan. Like a master card player, Talleyrand figured everything out in advance. He knew Napoleon would fall into the trap he had set. He also foresaw that Napoleon would lead the country into a war which, given France's weakened condition, could only last a few months. One diplomat in Vienna, who understood that Talleyrand was behind it all, said, "He has set the house ablaze in order to save it from the plague." That kind of sounds like what he did there. Oh, hello, Mousy. Mm. Oh yeah, they suckered him. They played on his vanity. They conspired, and they set him up and got him. But it's funny because this guy Talleyrand was only Napoleon's foreign minister. He wasn't Napoleon. Napoleon was wildly popular amongst the people, but he knew the cold, hard reality of the situation and was able to use that bait to convince these other gentlemen to come to his side so he could set Napoleon up to fail once and for all miserably, which is precisely what he proceeded to do with this plan. And he suckered him. He suckered him right in phenomenally as well. When I laid bait for deer, I don't shoot at the first doe that comes to sniff, but wait until the whole herd has gathered around. Otto von Bismarck. That makes perfect sense. Like, I mean, you never take the first shot. Ah, this is good advice. You don't keep a bunch of yes men. They're only going to tell you what they think you want to hear. You've got to keep asshole in your crew. Your asshole's going to tell you how it is. Hmm. Like, I don't have an asshole in my crew to tell me when we miss the twins, so I gotta be that guy. Happy 22. It's 22. Cheers. But if Talleyrand wasn't able to get these other foreign ministers to come aid in his plot, he would not have been able to get the British to let him just basically, like, them British ships would have blown whatever ship that came to rescue him out of the water. There's no way in hell he would have been able to escape. They had to set it up for him to escape. So that they basically had to free him back into the world to destroy him. Like that, it's kind of counterintuitive because he was already essentially beaten, but we got to beat him some more. He is not dead yet. We got to make him the dead, which is what they proceeded to do with this plot. The keys to power. How many times has this scenario played itself out in history? An aggressive leader initiates a series of bold moves that begin by bringing him much power. Slowly, however, his power reaches a peak, and soon everything turns against him. I'm going to pause right here and say that the former God Emperor Trump fell victim to this particular, because he did. He had a lot of bold power moves in the beginning, but by the time it was over, he managed to, like, I don't know, tear the second major political party of this country completely apart, and now they can't. Now they're tripping over each other to fuck each other. Yes, it's hilarious, but you fell to this one. What's up, Maddie? His numerous enemies band together. Trying to maintain his power, he exhausts himself going in this direction and that, and inevitably he collapses. The reason for this pattern is that the aggressive person is rarely in full control. He cannot see more than a couple of moves ahead, cannot see the consequences of this bold move or that one. Because he is constantly being forced to react to the moves of his ever growing host of enemies and to the unforeseen consequences of his own rash actions, his aggressive energy is turned against him. He becomes the tool of his own demise. Oh, wow, there's a name I have not seen in a very long time. Evening, Memento Mori. Frogget. We was just Frog. We was just I was conflating Trump's presidency to Napoleon's fall from power because it's pretty. I mean, the circumstances of both of these things are pretty freaking similar. Like this man went making enemies everywhere he went, and when everyone conspired against him, it's like, well, what did you expect? You played yourself. You didn't make enough allies in the swamp to play the swamp game. It actually did not work out for you. In the realm of power, you must ask yourself, what is the point of chasing here and there, trying to solve problems and defeat my enemies if I never feel in control? Why am I always having to react to events instead of directing them? The answer is simple. Your idea of power is wrong. You have mistaken aggressive action for effective action. And most often, the most effective action is to stay back, keep calm, and let others be frustrated by the traps you lay for them, playing for long term power rather than quick victory. Uh huh. Uh huh. Beautifully. Hey there. And to this, I won't say I disagree. However, he could only tear the Republicans apart, and all that does is empower and embolden the Democrats, who are objectively worse by my standards of bad and evil. So, is it a good thing? I don't know. One might argue that depends on how you see it. But I love that your idea of power is wrong. That playing the long game will bring you the long term power, and sometimes it's better to do nothing in response and let your enemies make mistakes and then capitalize on them. I mean, that's definitely Sun Tzu esque. Like, there is an old saying that says never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake, and that's good advice in any confrontational situation. I don't know. I'm with it. Makes sense to me. Everybody following? Like, any questions? Any concerns? Emotional outbursts? Uh, I've been in this spot where where somebody not reacting is like the most frustrating shit. Because it's really hard to read someone who doesn't react. It really is. It's infuriating. Like, oh, it's whatever, you know. What does that mean, though? What does it mean? I don't know, Bijou. It drives me nuts. I hate it when people do that to me. Oh, so nobody's got any additional adds to this one? Because you're about to have to write something down. Yep. Which is funny that this theme would come up so much in this law because, like, the point of this law is to draw people to you, and that rarely ever draws anyone to you, but it is a it's a part of another law of power. It's usually the always say less than necessary, but there's it plays to so many different laws. Remember, so take a note, make a note of this, everybody. Remember, the essence of power is the ability to keep the initiative, to get others to react to your moves, to keep your opponent and those around you on the defensive. When you make other people come to you, you suddenly become the one controlling the situation, and the one who has control has power. Two things must happen to place you in this position. You yourself must learn to master your emotions and never to be influenced by anger. Meanwhile, however, you must play on people's natural tendency to react angrily when pushed and baited. In the long run, the ability to make others come to you is a weapon far more powerful than any tool of aggression. I guess in this regard, like what they mean by making people come to you is not necessarily like seducing them or swaying them, but like fighting defensively. And when you're the one controlling the situation and you're making the moves, yeah, all they can do is react. You have the upper hand. Like it's like playing chess and you're basically operating from a position of strength, pushing your opponent, making them play defensively. You make them make mistakes, which is why knowing when to be aggressive, and this is a great thing for poker because that's basically what poker boils down to is timing and aggression. It's knowing when to make the move to get them to do what you want. And if they're the one getting you to react irrationally or rashly or yeah, in from emotion, you not only are playing right into their hand, but you're not reacting with 100% of your ability. You limit yourself when you don't sit and think about it for a second. I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of popping off emotionally before I actually sit and process, okay, what just happened here? And it's almost never productive. It's almost always just like, if you'd have just like chilled for a second and not not done that, you probably wouldn't have exacerbated the situation and made it much worse. But I've been in that spot. We're all human. I think we can all be capable of emotional reactions against our self interest and better judgments. Study how Talleyrand, the master of the art, performed this delicate trick. First, he overcame the urge to try to convince his fellow statesmen that they needed to banish Napoleon far away. It is only natural to want to persuade people by pleading your case, imposing your will with words. But this often turns against you. Few of Talleyrand's contemporaries believed Napoleon was still a threat, so that if he had spent a lot of energy trying to convince them, he would only have made himself look foolish. Instead, he held his tongue and his emotions in check. Most important of all, he laid Napoleon a sweet and irresistible trap. He knew the man's weakness, his impetuosity, his need for glory and the love of the masses, and he played all this to perfection. When Napoleon went for the bait, there was no danger that he might succeed and turn the tables on Talleyrand, who better than anyone knew France's depleted state. And even had Napoleon been able to overcome these difficulties, the likelihood of his success would have been greater were he able to choose his time and place of action. By setting the proper trap, Talleyrand took the time and place into his own hands. So he's the one who plotted, like, yeah, we're going to get you escaped out right now. We're not going to let you get yourself, buy your time until your position is stronger when you come back. Nope, we're gonna make sure you come back in this very weakened state to a very weakened host empire, and you're basically set up for destruction. Yeah. So he timed it specifically so that he wouldn't be able to succeed. That is why you have friends you rant to or whatnot to protect you from the emotional reaction against whoever. Just as long as you're ranting to them before you go do the thing. It don't do you a lot of good if you venting to them after you already done the thing. I double agree with Juju, and you know they are your true friends because they don't weaponize those rants. I mean, sometimes your true friends have to. If you're being a fucking idiot, my best friends will tell me, yeah, well, that's because you're a moron. Shout out to y'all on Team No Friends if you're my real friends in the chat, and you will tell me I'm a fucking moron when I'm being a fucking moron. Even if I don't like it, even if I don't want to hear it. Shout out to you guys. You know who you are. It's literally pretty much everybody in this chat that talks to me outside of YouTube. Bijou. Mousy would do it, but I don't do those kind of rants. That's the one I was looking for. Sound off. YouTube specifically. Sometimes you gotta put the Darth Hideous in check. Sometimes you avoid those friends when you're being a fucking moron. I mean, you're wise to do so if you ain't trying to hear it. That's that's a power play. We got that sounding off. All of us have only so much energy, and there is a moment when our energies are at their peak. When you make the other person come to you, he wears himself out, wasting his energy on the trip. In the year 1905, Russia and Japan were at war. The Japanese had only recently begun to modernize their warships so that the Russians had a stronger navy, but by spreading false information that the Japanese Marshal Togo Hihachiro baited the Russians into leaving their docks in the Baltic Sea, making them believe they could wipe out the Japanese fleet in one swift attack. The Russian fleet could not reach Japan by the quickest route, through the Strait of Gibraltar and then the Suez Canal into the Indian Ocean, because these were controlled by the British, and Japan was an ally of Great Britain. They had to go around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa, like all the way around the bottom, adding more than 6,000 miles to the voyage. Once the fleet passed the Cape, the Japanese spread another false story. They were sailing to launch a counterattack. So the Russians made the entire journey to Japan on combat alert. By the time they arrived, their seamen were tense, exhausted, and overworked, while the Japanese had been waiting at their ease. Despite the odds and their lack of experience in modern naval warfare, the Japanese crushed the Russians. Ah, you gotta come to me. And not only you gotta come to me, you gotta go all the way around. And not only do you gotta go all the way around, but we're gonna tell you when you get halfway there, we're coming to you. So you're gonna spend the rest of your trip watching very closely on high alert for us. And you're gonna be really annoyed by the time you get here. Meanwhile, we just chilling. We're waiting. We're gonna fuck you up when you get here. That is how you make them come to you. You make them go the long way. By the way, if anyone wants to come beat me up for things I've said here today, I'll be right here. You just let me know when you're gonna be here. All right. That's how I deal with these things. I'm not gonna meet you anywhere. I'll let you come to me. Hit my DMs if you need the address. One added benefit of making the opponent come to you, as the Japanese discovered with the Russians, is that it forces him to operate in your territory. Yeah, like you on my front steps. Being on hostile ground will make him nervous, and often he will rush his actions and make mistakes. For negotiations or meetings, it is always wise to lure others into your territory or the territory of your choice. You have your bearings, while they see nothing familiar and are subtly placed on the defensive. Huh. Home field advantage. That's a thing. And I guess if they're coming into your house, yeah, because they don't know how surrounded they are by how many enemies. Like, you could be laying all the ambushes in case these negotiations or meetings don't go well. Even if you don't have an ambush set, even if you don't spring an ambush you have set. That would make me uneasy. Like, I gotta meet you where? I ain't going there, Chief. And I've had that happen with, like, back in the days when you have to used to acquire certain things that you couldn't buy in the store. You had to meet a guy in this, like, there's just certain places that if you say this is where I want you to meet me, I'm like, I'm not meeting you there. That's not happening. This sounds like a trap. Is this a trap? We ain't gonna do that. Thank God those days are over. But I mean, for real, for real. Manipulation is a dangerous game. Once someone suspects he is being manipulated, it becomes harder and harder to control him. But when you make your opponent come to you, you create the illusion that he is controlling the situation. He does not feel the strings that pull him, just as Napoleon imagined that he himself was the master of his daring escape and return to power. Thus, it all comes back to how they got Napoleon to come to them. Because he thought he was in control. You're not. You never was. This was all orchestrated to destroy you, but your ego got in the way and you didn't see it. You missed that part where all these things are just a little too easy. If it seems too easy or too good to be true, it probably is. Good evening, Mr. Gohagen. And if it seems too good to be true, and it probably is, then maybe you should probably ask yourself why, how. The greedier they become, the more they can be led around. Greedier, more trusting, more comfortable. Usually it's people's own damn self-assuredness, their their certainty of their own rightness that is their undoing in these situations. They just become overconfident and they don't see the trap because they feel like they're too smart to be caught in a trap. And that's when they get caught in a trap. Everything depends on the sweetness of your bait. If your trap is attractive enough, the turbulence of your enemy's emotions and desires will blind them to reality. The greedier they become, the more they can be led around. Imagine that. The great 19th century robber baron Daniel Drew was a master at playing the stock market. When he wanted a particular stock to be bought or sold, driving prices up or down, he rarely resorted to the direct approach. One of his tricks was to hurry through an exclusive club near Wall Street, obviously on his way to the stock exchange, and to pull out his customary red bandana to wipe his perspiring brow. A slip of paper would fall from the bandana that he would pretend not to notice. The club's members were always trying to foresee Drew's moves, and they would pounce on the paper, which invariably seemed to contain an inside tip on a stock. Word would spread, and members would buy or sell the stock in droves, playing perfectly into Drew's hands. If you can get other people to dig their own graves, why sweat yourself? I mean, this sounds a lot like the last law, like get others to do the work and you take all the credit. Like you getting them to do all the work for you by making them come to you, and you take all the credit by they just did exactly what you wanted to do, or wanted them to do anyway. Crutches and ice cream. I mean, I want ice cream, but I don't want crutches. So if you could take your crutches and get ice cream for the whole class, that'd be great. Good to see you, Divinity, according to Mr. Gohagen. Uh, you might be. I mean, I think at some point in time we're all manipulated, we're all controlled. I mean, there's very, very, very few people who are completely beyond manipulation, and I think you have to be some sort of like sociopath to be completely devoid of any emotions to be manipulated. Because the easiest way to manipulate somebody is emotionally. You get them out of their thinking and into their feelings, and they become so much easier to manipulate. It's when they're doing the processing of the conscious thoughts that they see the manipulation and they're like, this is bullshit. I'm good with chocolate. I'm not really picky. If you get in a party, pal, like, anywho, pickpockets work this to perfection. The key to picking a pocket is knowing which pocket contains the wallet. Experienced pickpockets often ply their trade in train stations and other places where there is a clearly marked sign reading "Beware of pickpockets." Passers-by seeing the sign invariably feel for their wallet to make sure it is still there. For the watching pickpockets, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. Pickpockets have even been known to place their own "Beware of pickpockets" sign to ensure their success. Oh, imagine that. The sign that's warning you about the pickpockets is the very sign causing you to subconsciously tell the pickpocket where the wallet is so you can get your pocket picked real easily. Up here a little ways. Man, I'm gonna get me a beware of pickpocket sign and see where everybody keep their wallet. I'm gonna pick you. I mean, it's a subtle manipulation, but it like just the subconscious of it. Like you see a sign, beware of pickpockets. You check your pocket, the one that you would expect them to pick. And if they're watching right by that sign, like, oh my God, what an easy target. What a fucking. It is like shooting fish in a barrel. I saw the beware of pickpockets sign and I almost subconsciously felt for my wallet and then I realized that it's sitting over there on the table and I'm not wearing pants. So good luck with that. But I felt the urge to. I mean, being observant is often overestimated because I promise you, as observant as you think you are, you're not nearly as observant as you think you are. And I've had this tested where you you go into a room and you know you're supposed to be paying attention, and then like they will like blindfold you or something, like throw your head in a bag, drag you out of the room, and you have to like remember details of what's going on in that room. You will be very surprised how little you fucking remember when the pressure is on. 10 years of security will teach, yeah, you will learn some tricks like living in the hood. 10 years of living in the hood or growing up in the hood specifically will teach you like you'll get a sixth sense when shit's like when it's too quiet, when shit's about to be going down, or when there's a couple of people who seem like they might just be fucking around and you realize that shit's about to get serious real fast. Yeah, I developed that sort of sixth sense of like just knowing when the danger. Because I have like turned to go down streets before and just like I'll notice it's eerily quiet and it's like you just get that bad feeling. It's like I'm not going down there, and then you detour and go around it, and there's almost always a good reason for that. You get heightened to the awareness. Something ain't right. Could be nothing, but why take a chance? Does not make any sense. Anywho, close the blinds. Nothing's about to go down. You ain't see nothing if it did. So nothing went down because you didn't see nothing. Because snitches get stitches. Anywho, back to the pickpockets. When you are making people come to you, it is sometimes better to let them know you are forcing their hand. You give up deception for overt manipulation. The psychological ramifications are profound. The person who makes others come to him appears powerful and demands respect. Filippo Brunelleschi, the great Renaissance artist and architect, was a great practitioner of the art of making others come to him as a sign of power. On one occasion he had been engaged to repair the dome of the Santa Maria del Fiore Cathedral in Florence. The commission was important and prestigious, but when the city officials hired a second man, Lorenzo Ghiberti, to work with Brunelleschi, the great artist brooded in secret. He knew that Ghiberti had gotten the job through his connections and that he would do none of the work and get half the credit. Ah, that Law 7 thing. At a critical moment of the construction, then, Brunelleschi suddenly developed a mysterious illness. He had to stop work but pointed out to city officials that they had hired Ghiberti, who should have been able to continue the work on his own. Soon it became clear that Ghiberti was useless, and the officials came begging to Brunelleschi. He ignored them, insisting that Ghiberti should finish the project, until finally they realized the problem. They fired Ghiberti. By some miracle, Brunelleschi recovered within days. He did not have to throw a tantrum or make a fool of himself. He simply practiced the art of making others come to you. Yeah, he was like, yeah, fuck you guys, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. Good luck with that. Why don't you get Yeah, why don't you get the other guy to do it? You got this other guy, don't you? Yeah. If on one occasion you make it a point of dignity that others must come to you and you succeed, they will continue to do so even after you stop trying. Image, the honeyed. The image, the honeyed bear trap. Okay. The bear hunter does not chase his prey. A bear that knows it is hunted is nearly impossible to catch, and is ferocious if cornered. Instead, the hunter lays traps baited with honey. He does not exhaust himself and risk his life in pursuit. He baits, then waits. Authority. Good warriors make others come to them, and do not go to others. This is the principle of emptiness and fullness of others and self. When you induce opponents to come to you, then their force is always empty. As long as you do not go to them, your force is always full. Attacking emptiness with fullness is like throwing stones on eggs. Zhang Yu, 11th century commentator on the art of war. Which, I mean, that's the bear trap allegory right there. Hello, Grace Case. Yeah, poor bears, but I mean, the point of hunting bears is not a fair fight. The point of hunting bears is killing bears. And you want to do that while putting yourself at the least risk possible. Or if you're like at war with humans, you definitely want to make them exhaust themselves before they have to fight you. That'd be a much better. Like I watched a video. I think Cool Frog showed us this on one of the Friday night streams. This gentleman was trying to fight with this other guy, and the first thing he did before he went to fight this man was he headbutt a car as hard as he could, really hard, and then he proceeded to go get knocked out with one punch, like really efficiently. And it's like, I'm not so sure you would have been knocked out so easily if you hadn't headbutted that car to prove how tough you were. But you did, and you got knocked smooth out. And that, my friend, is making your opponent come to you and make apparently all the mistakes along the way. Ah, fun times. Reversal. Oh, this is a short one. Although it is generally the wiser policy to make others exhaust themselves chasing you, there are opposite cases where striking suddenly and aggressively at the enemy so demoralizes him that his energies sink. Instead of making others come to you, you go to them, force the issue, take the lead. Fast attack can be an awesome weapon, for it forces the other person to react without the time to think or plan. With no time to think, people make errors of judgment and are thrown on the defensive. This is that strike first, strike hard, no mercy, Cobra Kai mentality. And sometimes when you have the ability to strike without warning, I mean, you might get, for instance, the result of what has just happened in Israel, which apparently seemed to catch the Israelis off guard completely. And we all know how it is being reported that that went. I mean, 1,000 plus dead. That is you don't give your opponent time to prepare type of situation there. The this tactic is the obverse of waiting and baiting, but it serves the same function. You make your enemy respond on your terms. Men like Caesar Borgia and Napoleon used the element of speed to intimidate and control. A rapid and unforeseen move is terrifying and demoralizing. You must choose your tactics depending on the situation. If you have time on your side and know that your enemies are at least at equal strength, then depleting their strength by making them come to you. If time is against you, your enemies are weaker, and waiting will only give them the chance to recover. Give them no such chance. Strike quickly, and they have nowhere to go. As the boxer Joe Louis put it, he can run, but he can't hide. As the boxer Mike Tyson put it, everyone got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And that is the end of Law 8, my friends. Yay, we made it. Uh, of course they did. But we're going by not by what really happened, but by what the uh, approved narrative is. And by the approved narrative, they clearly didn't see this coming, or they wouldn't have had that music festival where they had it. Did everybody learn about how to make your enemies come to you? Yeah, I heard something like over half is under the age of 18 because they don't live very long in that area. And I heard that about half of the residents of Gaza, not Palestine, because apparently that's not a real place, according to everybody. It's not a place anymore. It might have been a place at one point in time, but it's not. Anyway, yeah, I heard that half the residents of Gaza are under the age of 18. That whole situation is fucked, and because we're on YouTube, probably not going to get into talking too much about it because it'd be a very charged topic, and I don't have a position. I'm not pro either of these places. I think they both fucked up, and they got a whole history of being fucked up. So, yeah, none of my business. I am not an authority on that. But we seem to have a problem. We seem to have a problem, Americans specifically, of not letting people come to us. We always want to go there. We always want to break this eighth law, and like we're gonna show up at your front door with our warships and our troops and this and that, and we're gonna come fight in your backyard where we don't have the territorial advantage, and we're gonna fight you with our hands tied behind our back because we more worried about our fucking image than we are about pushing your shit in. So yeah, we're gonna learn from that too, I think. I don't know. Anyone else got any input on this Law 8? Anything to add? Any questions? Yeah, everyone got the key takeaways of the only time you want to hit them first is when you know you got the advantage and you know that waiting might give them a chance to regroup and even the odds up. Other than that, you want to make them come to you. I mean, it was quick. It was to the point. There were not a whole bunch of allegories that I had to disagree with on this one, like there are in some of these, where it's just like, yeah, I don't see the value in any of this. This is just one that's pretty concise. And it's pretty important, though, especially if you're in a combative situation or scenario, to make sure that you keep control of the territorial advantage, whether you make them come to you or you bring the fight to them. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're making them react to your script and not flip the script on you and put you on the defensive. Anywho, this has been the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene discussion series, Law 8. Like the stream if you haven't done so already and you feel so inclined. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Tell a friend if you are subscribed and they might be interested in the laws. We have officially decided that Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, is the time that we're going to continue to be doing these. So look for one a week. Tomorrow night on Divinity's channel, we will be doing a show together regarding the ways that the state can legally kill you. It's more to that than you think. So that ought to be fun. Join us on Rumble for that. If you aren't following Divinity on Rumble, what the absolute hell? Any other housekeeping orders of business? Yes, there we go. That's the. I mean, yeah, it'll feel real good. I promise. I don't know. I was kind of planning to be here for a little longer than this, but I guess if nobody else has anything else, go ahead and call that our show. I'll go ahead and give it a second, try to stall, see if anyone wants to add anything else. Because these laws is becoming, as the world conflicts heat up, the laws of power becoming more and more relevant because you're gonna need your power to ensure your survival, and you got a better shot at making it through if you got the power to control situations involving other people. It's just a piece of advice from me to you. Come back on a goof off stream. I mean, I still got to do my like goof off and introduction to Rumble stream, so I was gonna do that last weekend, but really just wasn't feeling it. Probably because of the whole recovering from my birthday and being in the pain and all that shit. But I do got to do a goof off on. Oh, come back on a. So end this stream and then start a new stream, just like goofing off on here. Is that what you're saying, Bijou? I could do that. I could if I wanted to. Would anybody want to come jump on a goof off stream if I were to do that? Yup. Well, uh, I guess we'll take a poll in chat. Anybody else want me to do that? Because it kind of seems like Bijou does. It kind of seems like Divinity is seconding that. I will remain in chat, but I will goof in chat. You goof in chat anyway. Even when I'm trying to do a serious stream, you do the goofing. I love my chat, even if they are goof. Rumbo? Do it on Rumbo? I've never set up a stream on Rumbo before. I ain't trying to learn some new shit right at this exact second. You guys are killing me here. Nah, there's too many people trying to support this idea. I'm not doing it. You guys are doing too much. Maybe next week, if it's another short one. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. You got me off guard. Now I'm reacting to y'all's power. Okay, well I'm gonna shut this one off anyway. I might come back on Rumble. I might come back on YouTube. I might not come back. But because it's a surprise stream, because it's a surprise, we're gonna surprise you. And if I see you back here, that is dope. If not, I will catch you next week or tomorrow night when I join Divinity for our stream about the ways the state can kill you. Anywho, this has been the 48 Laws series. Darth Hideous out.